California's lawmakers are chopping up their state's criminal code to keep up with rapidly shifting values that are changing so fast it is bewildering. The state used to fear people deliberately spreading HIV, which remains a chronic, incurable, and ultimately terminal virus. No more, under a new law taking effect next year, deliberately spreading HIV, doing it on purpose, knowing that you're doing it, is now in California a misdemeanor with a maximum punishment of 6 months in jail. Meanwhile, there are terrible new crimes in California, and the most terrible of all, misgendering someone. Also starting next year, healthcare workers who persistently use the wrong pronouns when working with seniors could be imprisoned for up to a year. Ethan Behrman is a California radio host. He joins us tonight to explain how exactly this works. So law sends, Ethan, thank you for joining us, especially on this topic.
Thanks, Doctor.
But law sends a clear message about what our values are. It's not just about who we want to put in jail, it's about what we believe. And the California legislature has just said in really clear terms, it is worse to call someone by the wrong pronoun than it is to deliberately infect someone with a fatal disease. That seems like an inverted value structure to me.
Well, it's not worse, and I'm not quite sure where the year is coming from in terms of punishment, and of course that's up to the judge, but what we have is something called elder abuse is what happens, and as our demographics change, the law needs to keep up with that. So if you want to be called something, shouldn't I, as basic human decency, call you what you want to be called?
Yeah, and I do that.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, it's not what we're talking about. I mean, people change their names, women get married, for example, or whatever. I want to call you what you want to be called. That's always been my view, because I try to be polite. But that's very different from the state weighing in and saying if you somehow use the wrong name more than once or several times or in a way that we consider, quote, persistent, we're going to punish you more severely than we would if you knowingly gave someone a fatal disease. What the hell?
Well, so we have a couple of different issues there. First off, HIV is no longer the fatal disease. When you and I were living through the 80s and seeing people dying left and right in San Francisco, among other places, it was fatal. And now medicine has advanced that it's not fatal anymore. Okay. We are keeping people alive. Look at Magic Johnson.
Sure, that is true, but if you know people who have HIV, I'm sure you do, I do. First of all, people do die from it, for sure. Second, it's a huge deal. It's a big deal. It makes you really sick. It's super expensive. It's terrible. And you could say the same thing about tuberculosis. Should we decriminalize the intentional transmission of tuberculosis or malaria? Of course not. And the only reason you're doing this with HIV is because there is a specific lobby dedicated to achieving this. And that's kind of the last government you want to have, one whose laws are written by various lobbies for various weird reasons. Don't you see where I'm going, right?
I absolutely see where you're going, and I still disagree with you, because what we have here is we have a specific demographic who generally has HIV, who is being discriminated against and has a tremendous history of discrimination in the United States. Otherwise, we wouldn't need things like the Stonewall riot in New York City, for example. And what's happening is
wait a second. Why is it discriminatory?
Stigmatized by this.
Okay, but wait, stigmatized. I mean, look. I don't care what, quote, demographic you're in. If you intentionally give someone an incurable disease, I don't care how much money you give to Nancy Pelosi. You should be charged with a felony for that. That's ridiculous behavior. I mean, right? Why are we making excuses for that behavior?
Because it isn't. It's not it's not manslaughter, attempted homicide anymore, because we are keeping people alive with HIV. The medicine has advanced tremendously.
Okay, so if I give you tuberculosis, which can be managed with antibiotics most of the time, like HIV, which can't always be managed, by the way, but most of the time, would that be a misdemeanor too?
Yeah, yeah, morally speaking, why not any STD?
No, legally, no, because gonorrhea has never had the consequences of HIV or tuberculosis. But I mean, look, the tuberculosis sufferers don't have a lobby. That's the truth here. But as a moral question, you think it's okay, it shouldn't be a felony to intentionally give someone tuberculosis. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's wrong, just like you do, but is it a felony? Is this something that we should be putting
to give someone a potentially on purpose?
For?
Look, but again, just to be totally clear, this is on purpose. This is not, diseases are spread accidentally, and we understand that through recklessness or carelessness. No, this is on purpose. Like, I'm trying to give you this disease. That's not a felony?
No, and it's a misdemeanor in the state of California. We have determined, we have determined now that this is a misdemeanor for up to 6 months in jail for each offense.
I wasn't for California becoming its own country. I'm getting close.